Hello everybody, Big Bear Ron here. Thank you so very much for joining me for this ride. I hope you will enjoy it. If you look at all my cooking videos, you'd think that all I ever do is eat. Well, that's not quite true. One of my vanities is watching my waistline, but when I do eat, I like to enjoy good food, and when I'm cooking, I like to cook good food. I'm a real sucker for brownies. Walk into a bakery and smell that chocolatey aroma in the air. Oh, yeah, it gets me just about every time. And I like my chocolate brownies, though, just a little bit on the bitter side. So I use a dark chocolate in mine. When I'm on the road, little bitty brownie like that would cost me as much as $3. And you know what? I know I can do better than that when I make the brownies myself. And I know what's in them. I didn't use any added fat with these brownies except what's already in the chocolate. And I did add macadamia nuts, but there's no butter, no shortening, nothing like that in these brownies. And I do believe that I'll provide you with just the instructions you need, that if you want to try it for yourself, you can do it too. So if you have any questions or comments after you see it all, just let me know. I'll be glad to get back with you on that. Okay? So, are you ready? Enjoy the ride. I'm going to use salted macadamia nuts in my brownies, and I'll keep the salt in mind later on as I'm mixing this up. You could use some other kind of nut, M&Ms, chocolate chips, or whatever you like in your brownies. I'm going to get the oven set to 350 degrees, and while it's heating up, we'll measure our flour. Actually, we'll just scoop it out, about 2 cups or so. All-purpose flour. In that, I will add my baking powder and my salt. For each cup of flour, I use about a teaspoon and a half of baking powder. So in this case, I'm going to use 3 teaspoons of baking powder. And I'm going to make sure it's stirred well into the flour. Add salt, about a half a teaspoon. Remember, there's already salt in the macadamia nuts. I'm going to spray my pan only on the bottom. That way the batter will grab on to the sides of the dish and help it to rise more. Okay, then we'll line this pan with parchment paper. If you don't have parchment paper, you can take flour and just dust it all over the bottom. That will do. All right. Now, I have a saucepan half full of water over high heat. Over that, place a heat-resistant bowl. To that, I'm going to pour in a cup of coffee. And I want a little more kick in these brownies, so I'm going to add about 3 teaspoons of a good tasting instant coffee. Yeah, stir that up in there. And then while that's heating up, I'm going to very carefully shave my chocolate, about 4 unsweetened chocolate squares. Shave them carefully with a nice sharp knife. And then put it all into the coffee. As it heats up, it'll melt down. Stir it. Be careful. Don't burn your hands. Now while that's heating up, I'll get my eggs and vanilla mixed together. We don't want to add our eggs to the chocolate yet because the chocolate would be too hot and cause the eggs to curdle up. But we want to go ahead and get this ready so that we can add it at the right time to our mix. 3 eggs and about a tablespoon of vanilla. Go ahead and beat them up really good. Might as well. Now when the chocolate is almost melted, you want to go ahead and remove it from the heat. That way it won't scorch it up. There's enough heat built up into the liquid there to finish the melting process. Now we want to cool it down a bit, so we'll go ahead and add applesauce. About a cup and a half, unsweetened plain old applesauce. And to this, we'll add about a half a cup of honey. Get a good tasting honey for this. And I like to use dark brown sugar, so I'm going to use about a cup of dark brown sugar. and mix it all in. This will cool the chocolate down. That way I can add my eggs and stir it right on in without worrying about it curdling up in the mix. Stir it in well until you can't tell there's any egg mixture in there. It all looks like a bunch of chocolate. Add your flour mix, and you want to fold this in. Don't try to get it smooth, just fold it in, and if you have a few specks of white flour showing here and there, that's not going to hurt a thing. So just fold it by turning it over and over and over. I'm going to put that whole can of macadamia nuts in this batch of brownies. Okay. Now doesn't that look good? You know you have to lick it just a little bit, so stick your finger in there and lick it a few times. Pour it all at once into your lined baking dish. Spread it out evenly. And then we're going to give it a couple of taps on the board. Here we go. And now it's ready to go into that hot oven. Put it in the center. Hope you checked the racks before your oven got real hot. The center of the oven. There you go. Set the timer for about 25 minutes. And then leave it all alone. Don't open the door. Do not disturb. After 25 minutes, remove it from the oven and do the all-important toothpick test. This is how you do it. Just take a clean, dry toothpick, stick it right down into the middle, and pull it out. And as you can see, this one comes out clean as, well, you know. Be sure to smell it. This is recreation time. Enjoy your success. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to trim off the edges. This is just something I do whenever I make cakes and brownies. Just trim the edge because I like to have a nice square looking side. I'm going to take the whole thing. Be careful, this thing is hot. Alright, those edges I'm just going to put right back into my baking dish. I'm going to put these to good use in just a minute. But I want the rest of this to cool down thoroughly before I cut it up into squares. Let's take a look at this. This will have kind of a spongy texture, not too dense. Nuts all in there, suspended well. Oh yes, wonderful. Okay, now, yes, some good butter pecan ice cream. Crown it with a few bits of our brownie scraps. And then of course, yeah, believe me, the joys of the rewards of one's success. Yeah. And it all makes even the stormiest night feel not so bad after all. I'm glad you joined me. I hope you enjoyed this ride. I'm Big Bear Ron.